Welcome to our second day of Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Laguna Phuket. We are on triathlete.com every single day on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I hope everybody out there had a great Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. And my next guest, and starting off this morning, is a gentleman who's been in this business a long time, Marc Roy from Sports Stats. Marc, how the heck are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me, Bob.
It seems like we bump into each other if it's at an ITU race in San Diego or at an Ironman event. We're sort of traveling the same circuit.
Exactly, all over the world.
So take us back. Starting out yourself, growing up in Canada, I'm assuming. What were your sports?
I was mainly into team sports, volleyball back in the days, and I moved to running, cross-country running in high school.
Okay.
And basically from there, we had a duathlon back in the days, or we called them biathlon.
Yeah.
And I started helping out with the event. That's early 90s.
Yeah.
And I was doing triathlons back then as well.
Right.
And started as the race director for the event in 1991, and I hired this company called Sports Stats to do the timing.
Oh, so you hired Sports Stats?
I hired Sports Stats. Back then, they had about 20 events,
Yeah.
and they were just starting. And for 2 years, we hired them, worked with them. And in 1993, I started working for them because I'm bilingual. I had the entire Quebec market after that, and I started getting events for them. And I was still finishing high school in university. Basically.
So you're finishing high school and you're working for these guys?
Yeah, and then did my degree in university at the same time, and worked for them for about 3 years. And in 1996, I bought the company. Bought the company from them. We had about 50 events when we bought the company.
So in terms of the timing business, it's changed so much. At one time, since I've been racing, it started with popsicle sticks coming across the finish line. Then they stapled them up on a board, and you figured out your time and your place. What have been the biggest changes in the timing industry?
I think the biggest changes has been the transponder RFID technology. That would be probably the biggest change. I still remember timing races manually,
of course,
using push buttons and doing that for many, many years, up until about 1997, 1998. You started hearing about this championship technology, which was the only one in the market back in the days. And Boston Marathon was the first event in the USA to kind of move to that technology. And we then went ahead. 1998, we purchased our first 2 timing systems, and a lot of events would not make the jump from manual timing until it was proven.
It's scary. You think about it. If you've got 10,000 people in your race, and all of a sudden you have no results, you're hosed.
Well, when we did our first event ever with transponder, actually we missed 20% of the field, and we wondered why. And it was a simple setting we had not learned about, and we did do manual timing as a backup, which became our main source. By the next event, we were pros and went from there, and then it basically snowballed from there. By 2001, 100% of our events were using transponders.
You know what's funny? It just flashed back. The first time I was here in Laguna Phuket, Jean-Claude Garreau had some timing system that they were actually trying out here, and they put it on people's wrists. And I remember when people came across the line, it was like, "Give me your wrist, give me your wrist." You had to you had to take your wrist across this box. But I'd never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it was called winning time back in the days, and you had to stop until it beeped, and you walked away. So they ended up missing quite a few participants back then, and again, it's evolved so much. There's so many technologies available, and the main technology out there you'll hear about is MyLapse. MyLapse is probably the largest in the world.
Yeah.
You also see ChronoTrack, which is another technology out there. Those are the 2 main, and there's many others that are trying to catch up, because now you can go to Radio Shack, buy a few parts and RFID readers, and create your own system. The problem is there's a long way from creating your own out-of-the-box system to something that's going to time 40,000 runners.
So give me an idea of how many events you're working with now, and how many participants?
We time just about 1 million participants a year all over the world. We started off, again, with 30, 40 events. And when I bought the company, we had about 50 events. And we grown. In 2014, we have 700 events lined up.
700 events?
Yeah, all over the world. We have about, I would say, expect about 550 in Canada, about 150 or so in the U.S., approximately, and about 20, 30 for the rest of the world, basically.
And how-
Caribbeans.
yeah.
We do quite a few in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Now we're partnering up with Championship Thailand, and we're going to be. We just launched last week. We launched Sports Stats Asia, and we're going to be timing races in Asia. We're working with them.
Speaking of Asia, how big is this industry getting in terms of the number of participants and number of events in Asia?
It's quite surprising to see the number of participants in some of the countries here. Some of these events have 50, 60, 70,000 participants in them. And most of them are using companies from outside their country just
Right.
because there's nobody specializing within the country. But by bringing everything into Asia and working with partners like Championship Thailand, we're going to be able to provide all of our technologies that we've worked on during the years and be able to work with them on getting those events. And it's looking promising.
The thing that's intriguing to me is it used to be you'd hire a timing company because you just wanted the results at the finish. Now with the timing mats and with the growth of Facebook and Twitter and web accessibility, you guys are basically you're a promotion company, right? You're
Absolutely.
a promotional form
Yeah,
event.
the entire industry has changed, especially in the last 3 years or so, where you used to have your finish time only and people would go online the day after the event to get the results.
Right.
Now, if we're not publishing results live on the internet, you're out of the game. It's as simple as that.
Immediately.
And we basically, like last weekend at the Laguna Phuket Triathlon, we had the Facebook updates going. So as soon as your timing chip crossed the mat, they would update your status to say Chris McCormack has came out of the water
Right.
at 7:01 a.m. Split time was 22 minutes. Follow him live at sportstatsasia.com. So you can brand each message and now spread the word much quicker, either using Facebook, Twitter, email, and so on. So we're really integrating the social media aspect of the.
So I'm in the race, and I opt in to say, hey, I want all my Facebook and Twitter followers to know everything that's happening when I go across a timing chip.
Exactly. We direct all the traffic to our Facebook page. That's
Yeah.
the easiest way. And then
Yeah.
there's a link right on the Facebook page to sign up for upcoming races.
Right.
And that usually happens race week just because we need the data in the database and you need to be able to select yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to opt in. Like you say, it's very,
Right.
very simple. 2-3 step. Takes about 1 minute to sign up. And you get a confirmation right away. And during the race, we post on your page. And again, each messages can be branded on the specifications from the race organizers. And it's moved a long way.
Wow, obviously you're getting, if you've got 10, 15,000 people in a running event and it's going out to all of their Facebook followers, so all of a sudden that your 10 and 15,000 is 1 million people.
Oh, it is. If you, on average, it's 10 to 20% sign-ups. If
Yeah.
you have 20% sign-up on 15,000, that's 3,000 participants or so.
Yes.
3,000 times 400 friends, you do the math, that's over 1 million posting just for that one split. So
Promoting your event.
promoting your
creating
event,
awareness
promoting
of
your
brand.
brand, promoting a sponsorship. If you sell that idea to a sponsor,
So
it becomes...
you could sell that into a sponsor. So I go across the timing mat and I've just run the 5K in 23 minutes on my way to whatever marathon I'm doing. And now that's going out to all my Facebook friends and it's coming out from Coca-Cola or whoever it happens to be.
Yeah, it can be branded with whatever sponsor, whatever message you want. Also, we are really successful when it comes down to charity events because charity events, like Run for the Cure in
Sure.
Canada, has never been really an event where they promote, like the timing's not really important.
No,
The participation,
you're right.
raising money is more important. So all of a
Exactly.
sudden, we have this tool that we can make everybody aware that, hey, this participant's racing is raising money for a cause.
Right.
You take your foundation, for example,
Yeah,
work with
Challenge
CF,
Athletes
where
Fund, yeah.
all of a sudden you can integrate that into the timing, and all of a sudden your page gets exposure, you get more money,
Right.
and so on. So a lot of the charities are jumping on board. Charities that would
interesting.
never use timing.
Right.
And for results, they're using it on the charity base, and we have a lot of those events jumping on board with us.
It's funny because I never would have thought about that from a Challenge Athletes perspective because we have our triathlon, but the times really mean very little. But now it's more of an awareness thing where you're coming across the mat at the end of the swim and it's saying this is who I'm raising money for.
Absolutely, that's the way it's. Facebook is probably the main avenue, and Twitter as well, simply because we have the technology to do an SMS, but an SMS goes to one cell phone,
Right.
and it's very hard to brand.
Yes.
Whether Facebook, you can brand, and it goes to 400, 500, 600 friends at the same time, and then they comment on it, they share it,
Right.
and it spreads quite a bit.
So in terms of you've been there from the beginning, watching the growth of the sport of triathlon, because triathlon, when we first came here to Laguna Phuket 20 years ago, it was a pimple, right? You had very few people who were participating. How much has triathlon grown in this region?
Everywhere in Thailand, it's grown tremendously,
Uh-huh.
and in Asia, you see Philippines now. It's
Yes.
booming like crazy in the Philippines as well. So you see a lot more Asians taking on the sport. it's a very expensive sport.
It
It's
is.
not like running
No.
where you can just slap on a pair of shoes, but it is growing, and you see the participation go up every year in many of the events in Asia, and now with many events, with Challenge adding many events
Right.
in the Philippines and so on, and other brands, of course, adding events in Malaysia and so on. It's going to keep growing. I think Asia has been a difficult country to take triathlon to the next level,
Right.
just because of the cost, but I
Yes.
think it's getting there.
What's next? I mean, think about the timing world where it's come from the popsicle sticks 25 years ago to where we're
It's.
at now.
I think a lot of people ask me all the time is when is everybody going to have a GPS and I can simply track the little dot on, and that technology is already there. The problem is it's cost prohibitive.
Right.
It's so expensive. It will cost, like right now there are companies that are renting units. It costs about $30-40 for
Yes.
to do a triathlon
Like
or
during
running
Ironman,
event.
you could follow
and,
your
and it's
person's
quite a
GPS,
large
yeah.
piece of equipment you have to carry during the entire race, and
Right.
it works. It
Right.
works well, and it can track you exactly. You can go back after the race and replay your race and see how you did compared to others, but a very small percentage of people actually do that because of the cost. If it's costing you an extra $30-40, you're going to have 2% of the field
Right.
get on it. So we're working on technologies now that will predict where you are based on your pace, based on how many time, and the more timing mats we have, the more precise it becomes.
Right.
So we've added predicted finish time to our results,
I
where
saw that.
you cross the timing mat at 10 miles on the bike. If you're going at 22 miles an hour, it tells you approximately when you'll finish the bike within a few minutes.
Right.
And when you hit the next timing mat, it readjusts based on that pace and gives you an accurate count. And we did a race a few weeks ago with 14 splits on the run, and it was within a minute. So it gives you a good, if you're sitting at Starbucks having a coffee,
Yeah.
and it kind of tells, okay, I need to go and he's going to come by this split now or come by the finish line.
What's interesting is obviously at the beginning with splits, it was all about I go online afterwards to see how fast I swam, what my transition was, that. But now all of that and the mats are really for spectators to a certain degree, right? For family members to know where you're at. If they're on site, rather than going, oh my God, he's supposed to run a 7-minute pace, but I have no idea when he's getting to mile 12 or 14. Now with all the timing mats out there, that's really
It's
improvement.
absolutely for spectators, and trying to make triathlon
Spectator friendly.
And every single athlete, at almost all of them, they race with PowerTap, they race with Garmin's.
Yes.
They can go back, plug it in, and they have all the data after the race. They don't need really the timing to
No.
tell them. Most of them already know. But you're right, it's the spectator, how to make it more exciting for
Yeah.
them, how to find ways to basically push data to them instantly, not an hour from now,
No.
instantly to them. And I think everybody's trying to fight for that and trying to do it. And some are having great success, some are not. And you see it here all the time where nothing worked in that event, or
Right.
you never hear about timing until it goes bad.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's, yeah. So when you have, like you said, you had 14 timing mats, and was that a marathon?
It was an Ironman distance event.
Oh,
We had
Ironman race,
14,
okay.
Ironman Arizona, we had 14.
You had 14
timing-
time mats at Ironman Arizona.
We had 14 timing mat, but because we use MyLapse Pro Chip, which is one of our premier technology,
Yes.
it's just a wire. We use that in Kona. It enables us to get them in multiple directions. So we did it with 5 timing system, but because they do 2 laps,
Yes.
we're able to get multiple lap. But if on an ideal course, especially in Europe, you see a lot of those courses have 3-4 laps.
Yes.
You can have 20 timing system on the course, 20 detection, and it becomes a lot more precise, and you can really track the athlete and so on. So
Well, and also it keeps your viewer at home engaged because they're staying on the computer all day because they're getting constant updates. I
That's
remember
correct,
the
and
old days when you're trying to find where your person's at. It's like, oh my God,
and
it
it
takes
keeps
forever.
your athlete on the course. When they see all those mats and everything, it kind of, believe it or not, we do still have cheaters out there. And
have you seen much of that? Is that going
it's
away?
a very, very small percentage.
Yeah.
It's getting lower and lower these days, simply because it's virtually impossible.
Yes.
Even with 5 or 10 timing mats on the course, you know what they're running. Paces. So
Yes.
you see where you have, let's say, a 2-loop course, and they would run the first loop, let's say, in 2:10, and they would run the second loop in an hour and a half, and they're missing 3 splits on the course.
Yeah.
Right away, our system now flags that immediately,
Yeah.
and they'll fight it. And then when you provide the data and say, listen, you were running 12-minute miles,
Right.
and all of a sudden you dropped to 6-minute miles.
Yep.
There's something wrong. You're running faster than the first guy that won the race.
Yes.
During these 2 splits, something's wrong. You miss, and we don't have your detection near. You're disqualified.
Well,
So
it's funny. A friend of mine was racing Ironman Wisconsin a number of years ago, and he was ready to walk up and get his award, and he had missed like a 4-mile loop somehow on the course. But yeah, you can see where an athlete gets a little, not so much as trying to cheat, but can get screwed up, but when you look at the numbers, you can't argue with the numbers.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I would say 30-40% they do it. It's an honest mistake.
Yes.
As you know, the gun goes, the brain kind of stops.
You don't think
at the
well.
race, and they don't think, and they mean well, and they basically then when you provide the file, or this one guy we actually caught in Arizona when he got his Garmin file back.
Yes.
He actually was completely blown away. Our data proved that he did cut the course, and he did see exactly. So he sent it to us and said, "Well, yeah, here's your Garmin file. This is where you cut the course. You see it physically. You didn't go to that turnaround the second time around." So
he realized
he realized it and felt really, really bad. But
Yeah.
it was not his intention to.
Oh,
cheat.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Marc, it's really cool to see how this industry has grown, and it's what used to be just, hey, getting your results at the end was just sort of a little dessert after doing the race. But now it's become a full-fledged, not just full-fledged business, but such an integral part of the racing experience.
Absolutely, and we do live results now for 100% of the races we do. Even the swim we did yesterday, the open water swim, was live on the internet.
Really?
Within a few seconds, yeah. We had internet right
So
there
people
at the
could see
finish
how
line.
slow I swam.
There we go. You were on the internet within
oh,
about 10,
that's
15
sort of a bummer
seconds
for
when
some
you
of us.
crossed. And, yeah, but we by having all of our events live,
Yes.
every single event, we have the technology now. We're offering that an added value service. That's
Love it.
why I think we've been successful and we've been growing, and we've had about a 30% growth year after year.
30% every year.
Every year.
Even
Every
with the
single
economy.
Year. Yep. Oh yeah, it's not foolproof, but it's even in 2008, 2009 was one of our best years.
Yes.
Almost soon, like people had disposable income and they
Yep.
said, we're running. And of course we grow two ways: organic, which is an event just going
Right.
from 10,000 to 13.
Right.
But we still see a lot of
New events.
and then we haven't really marketed our services. It's been word of mouth.
Sure.
We don't have a full marketing team going
Uh-huh.
out, but in Asia we will, and in the USA as well. We're expanding as we just
San Diego
opened,
office.
Yeah, we just opened our San Diego office last week.
Love that.
And it's exciting.
Full service.
Full
Your
service.
numbers, everything
We have
else.
everything. We have bibnumbers.com, which is
Yeah.
one of our other division, our other company. Just moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
We have the press there ready to go, and we'll be printing bibs very, very shortly to serve, because we get, believe it or not, we ship probably 60% of our orders out of the border. We have our office in Canada now,
Yeah.
but we ship a lot of the bibs to the U.S. And
I'm sure.
having an office in San Diego will cut
Be
the time, the
helpful.
shipping time, and we'll cut the shipping costs mainly.
Love it.
For the events.
Marc, thanks for coming by.
You're welcome.
Have fun this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Marc Roy has been our guest from Sports Stats again. This is Breakfast with Bob. We're at the Challenge Laguna Phuket Triathlon. Hold on, everyone. We will be right back.